Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Talk Trackmania episode 2 and 3. We are back once again as Tuesdays, a little bit after 8 p.m. I do apologise for being a little bit tardy here today. My internet decided it was going to stand in our way today, but nothing can stop the dynamic duo of myself and LuckersTurbo beside me. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just didn't have the best cup of the day experience today. Played pretty bad. Also, a lot of studying at the moment because I was procrastinating over the weekend. But hey, I'm good to go. Kaki is there. I still have to do some things in Trackmania and also in real life, working a lot. So busy days at the moment. How are you doing, man?
Oh, busy man. I mean, I'm glad you've managed to shoehorn us into that busy schedule. Still got some time to talk Trackmania. I'm doing well. I'm feeling old, waking up sore, waking up, tired and all the rest of that. I'm pretty sure I'm just about to hit my pension age, so maybe late 60s or something like that. But I'm doing well overall. I mean, Tuesdays are always a highlight of the week, I suppose. And apparently Scotland's coming out of lockdown on Friday, so I'm probably still not going to go out anyway. But I mean, yeah, I suppose it's going about as good as can be at the moment. But
wait, lockdown is ending for you guys?
Yeah, we had another one. Yeah, it's been in lockdown since. Let me see. So this Friday it would have been in lockdown for 3 weeks. So since the 20th of November, we've been on tier 4 lockdown. So we can't, yeah, we can't do anything basically. But anyway, since we are back with Let's Talk Trackmania today, guys, do have kind of two main topics for you today. Of course, the kind of recap of what's happened with the most recent tournament. It was a bit more hyped up than usual, of course. Competition Premiership season 21 or 22, I forgot exactly.
22.
That's why we've got him here. He's not just good looking, but and also, of course, talking about. I see why I was getting mixed up with 21 because we're going to be talking about 2021, of course. Yeah, that was completely intentional. But yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit about 2021, what we can expect from Trackmania and what we can expect from the community efforts and so on, and what kind of projects we might see and what kind of projects we think might perhaps change. Some that have been recurring year upon year, some that might change a little bit. Hopefully, we've got some good news to talk about a little bit today. But before we get underway, first of all, thank you to Reva. Nearly 1 year of a resub there. But anyway, of course, this podcast, as always, is brought to you by the main man behind the screen, Erwin Weber and ESAC. Of course, check out esac.gg for upcoming tournaments and events. And if you are interested in hosting your own events, then that is the place to go. And also, we do have an existing project at the moment with CPS just finishing, of course, that the competitive open map pool, which it has just been announced, will be having its debutant, I suppose would be the probably butchering the way to say it. But the first tournament to be using the maps for that, and the Velocity Team Cup, which we are very happy to announce, will be at least using some of the competitive open map pool maps. So big thank you to them for getting involved, and can't wait to work with them, of course. But kicking off today, I've talked enough about ESAC. I've talked enough about, myself and everything else like that. You guys aren't here to listen to me talk about myself. This isn't, Eirik Holdal isn't here to be conducting the interviews, I suppose. But how are you feeling? I understand you'd said you hadn't managed to keep up as much, you said to me privately, that you hadn't managed to keep up as much with CPS, Competition Premiership Season 22, of course, as we're talking about. But give me the kind of overview of what you were feeling about CPS 22, both kind of before the events ended and after the events ended.
I mean, before the event, I told you guys that it will be close and that every team could take it. And everyone was like, yo, it will be 4W against We Are Positive in the final. Hey, that wasn't the case. And I told you guys. No pats on back here for me. I think it was a very, very close tournament because there was no 6-0 clean sweep in there, which I really find good. And also that all the other teams put in a fight, and Nubelobs eventually made it into the grand final. So who hasn't seen it yet, you should definitely check it out because it was the only match that I've watched because Nubelobs against We Are Positive I watched this one like after I made something with a friend, because we have this kind of we meet on Sunday every time for the last couple of weeks, and watched a video series called Mission Across Norway from, I think, an English YouTuber, GeoWizard. Very funny. And that's why I couldn't watch it, because it got released, I think, at 7, and I watched it at 9 with my friend. And it was definitely a good final. I watched the cast from Geek, also a very good cast, I have to say that. And was a close match. I mean, after Normalops won the 2 first sub matches, I was like, okay, they just have to win 1 3v3, but We Are Positive looked so strong in that, and I think it's definitely deserved, because they really show again that they put in a team effort again, and that they destroyed them kind of in those 3v3s. I didn't see a lot from THE, and also from Four Wheels. I haven't seen those matches. Maybe you can give me an overview over them.
Yeah, well, there of course been the semi-finals, which were awaiting in the semi-finals, was We Are Positive and Four Wheels. The match to go against We Are Positive was B Genius and THE Blue, and the one to go against Four Wheels was Proxas and Numalops. The more convincing of the two wins, I would say, would be the one with THE defeating B Genius. I believe it was 4-2 or 5-1, if I do remember correctly.
4-2.
Yeah, 4-2. And it just went to show the kind of the depth and quality that THE have really brought into their side now, since the Elementaries has kind of came into their fold now. I mean, we'd seen the power the likes of, Dexter and Magorian had in the old duo edition of the From Zero to Hero Cup. So we knew that those two were a very tough duo to handle, and they certainly showed it in all of their match to be played, of course. And the other one was Proxas versus Numalops. A little bit of a stickler for me, because it didn't look as if Proxas had all of their players available. I was noticing not as much of the likes of, say, Flyer and McQuattro that I was expecting, who I would say is two of some of their heaviest hitters. However, they did still put up a very good fight against Numalops, albeit in a losing fight. Teams I thought would be more evenly matched, but also teams which I think heavily depend upon who shows up for them, as they're a team that are all very, I would say they are still relatively equally matched within their own lineups, but I mean, you take out one piece of the puzzle there and you've kind of got a gaping hole. They're all fantastic players. So when you kind of shoehorn someone else into that, not to say that anyone in the lineup is subpar by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, you look at players like, like a Zykos, for example, or on the Proxas side, a Flyer. If you're missing any of these players, or if these players aren't, fully prepared, then that's a gaping hole to fill that not many, that's boots that not many people have the same size of feet to fill. But yeah, I suppose quarterfinals, whatever the fuck you would call it, I don't know. Brain isn't operating, at a high enough function for that. Probably quarterfinals, but I don't think it really makes sense. Anyway, that led us into the semi-finals, which, we talked a lot about last week, as you were saying, how we thought that it was a bit of a foregone conclusion that We Are Positive would have the strongest chance at victory. However, what I felt was most poignant of what, all the mess that I said, was that I believe that the only people that could stop them from winning was themselves, which I think kind of stood true a little bit. I feel that they, of course, seeing these players come in fully prepared to a team competition like this is not something we're ever going to see. We're not going to see these people coming in as prepared as they would be for a Trackmania Grand League or a TMWC of years gone past. That's fair to say, but these are all players who are very, very good at learning quickly. They have incredible skill potentials. However, THE managed to take it down to the very death. I believe it was 3-3, of which it got taken to a decider 3v3, which they lost, I think, only 7-4. But within that initial spread and regulation, one of the 3v3s, they were actually in the lead by, I think it was 6-4 or something like that. However, ended up losing the 3v3 12-10 or something along those lines. So, I mean, it was razor close between both teams, and it really could have gone either way. And I think THE really pushed We Are Positives to the limits of how they were performing that day. And yeah, it was. I'm sure they'll feel a bit aggrieved to not be in the grand finals. But did you say you'd watched a little bit of the other one? Sorry, you said you hadn't seen the Four Wheels match at all. Is that right?
No, I've just seen the final because I didn't have the time. But I mean, I think Phoebe's naming a good point there, and also you mentioned a good point with like an irreplaceable player that you put out of the team. And I think when let's say Pack misses for We Are Positive, it is not an irreplaceable player because all of those players are on a high level. That's just the thing that I wanted to add to that, and it's like occurring more for the other teams. And I mean, there were so many close and clean rounds on those matches. There were like little to no mistakes. Maybe in the 2v2 a little more by my perception, but I cannot even say that. But it is like, dude, it was such a high level, and I think everyone deserves it. And by just seeing it now, that THE went into the tiebreaker, into the 3v3, and it's kind of the best discipline for We Are Positive, the 3v3, by just concerning the final score, winning both 3v3s there. It is a good competition, and I mean, not a real clean sweep, only Four Wheels a bit. 5-1, they lost on that third place battle. It's like a little bit of a surprise for me that they kind of not disappointed, but that they maybe lost a little bit of motivation in that third place match. But it was a very close competition. I was expecting that, but many people didn't actually. I think most people think that We Are Positive will just like 5-1 or 4-2 every team away. But I mean, they went into the tiebreaker in the semifinal.
Well, I guess it's one of those things. It's always hard with teams like Four Wheels and We Are Positive when you know how good the players are, but you don't know what version of those players are that are going to show up. I mean, I think it's fair to say that We Are Positive could 5-1, 4-2, 6-0 any other team in the game, pretty much, if they were to prepare to their full potential. That's just the level that these players are. Four Wheels, on the other hand, I think that Four Wheels have a great name value. Four Wheels have great name value with, I suppose, shall we say, 4 or 5 players with the likes of Karyan, Poker, both, don't get me wrong, we're talking, 6 years ago back being the glory days for Poker, or even when he was kind of cooling down a little bit. That's a long time since that man's peak level has been reached, or whenever you would say Poker's peak. Same with Karyan, we're talking 10 years ago for him. So they're never going to come in and be the same level, at the same kind of cutting edge as they always were before. You have players like Acidic, who have not played since 2015. Then you have some more recent people like, say, Chillerside and so on. But it was always a very interesting team. I'm surprised that they did get top 2 of the group. I thought some other teams would have managed to edge some victories against them. But also, when you look past the main names of Four Wheels, the other players are lightning quick players, but players that do not really have competitive experience. You're talking players like Grit Kerberos, also Darkbringer, who does have competitive experience in full speed, but I mean, we're talking again 6-7 years ago since he last played a tech tournament, and also what was the other one's name? Nevo, who, unless it's been a name change, is not a name I recognise whatsoever, despite being a very quick player. However, again, if of course it's not a name change, is not a player who does have a lot of competitive experience. So this, I think, has been almost a little, not necessarily a project, but almost like, just having a little bit of fun for players like that. these are players that have been playing Trackmania for fun for quite a long time, and just in terms of hunting and staying in their own kind of corner on Trackmania Nations and so on. And to see those guys back is fantastic. But what I would love is I'd love to see regular competition from them. They do have other players who are part of the Four Wheels lineup, players who are, phenoms of tech competitions going past, like Kens and so on. I mean, you can look back to 2018 to see where Kens was one of the best online tech performers. So, I mean, I'd love to see Four Wheels participating in some more tournaments. And as Phoebe's saying there, maybe they just need a few more wheels for some extra grip. But yeah, the final overall, I thought it kind of gave a little bit of an anticlimax when you saw it was so close in the first two sub matches, and then they kind of get swept away in the last two. But I think it's so typical, even going back to, the expert Black days, the Dignitas days, the expert, just as it was in itself days, you would always have teams who could challenge expert, who could bring them to an extremely close match. We look back at teams back in the days, Lioncast, AAA, Acer, of course, some other ones,
Expert Yellow.
Expert Orange.
Hey, Orange it was, sorry.
Mimo, even for a very small time, my own team, A New Era, Molotovs and Marshmallows. All of these teams could push this lineup to a very, very close match. However, they would never beat them. That was the thing. They were synonymous with clutching matches out. They were synonymous with breaking the will of their opponents almost. I mean, you had the kind of caliber of player in that they would just... Planet Key Dynamics also, I forgot about them. But you had the kind of caliber of player in that lineup that would do like a world record in a live round. And fair enough, there's not much you can do against that. But if you're on the other side of that and you're seeing that your opponents are driving such sick times, it's hard to keep the same mentality thinking you can then beat them. And that's very important in Trackmania, especially in tech, of course. I mean, I've spoke a lot about it, back in the days when I was in some high-tier tournaments, of course, that one of the most important things is believing that you can beat the other person. And it's not kind of like saying to yourself, oh, yeah, I can beat them. And it's really meaning it. It's really believing that you can actually beat the other person in any given round. And yeah, I would guess it is the same in other environments without speaking out of turn, of course. But yeah, it's nice to see in a sense that some things haven't changed, that they haven't lost any steps in some team tournaments. But yeah, I would have, if I'm honest, I would have liked to have seen THE going into the grand finals. I thought we spoke about it last time. We thought that a lot of other teams might have lost motivation coming into it and seeing that We Are Positive are there. But they really stepped up to the plate. And all it was, I mean, for example, you had Tom, who performed extremely well in the 1v1. However, on the same map when the decider 3v3 was, it seemed that he just wasn't the same driver, which, again, it's just one of these things. But a very interesting tournament overall, I would say.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. I mean, just the fact that no team lost 2-0, that every team took a round is very good. And of course, THE, it was very close for them against B Genius. And I would have also been interested to see how B Genius would have played against We Are Positive, because I think all those lineups were so close that every team could have actually beaten the other team. I think, yeah, not sure about We Are Positive. Of course, you named it with the mentality, and also, of course, coping pressure in those situations, because those players just put a huge amount of pressure into that when just suddenly a pack drives 0.2 behind WR or 0.1 behind WR regularly. This puts a lot of pressure on you. But yeah, it's definitely something we're gonna look forward to for CPS 23, which will most likely happen next year. And yeah, I mean, that's a good transition actually to move into our next topic. But I think because we talked a little bit a lot about this now, and I think you all guys watched that. But if CPS 23 happens and those teams are there again, I think it will be super interesting again. And maybe a team can finally finally, I'm just saying it because I love a good competition. I don't wish that they lose or something, but maybe they can finally beat We Are Positive, which is, of course, on paper, the best team. But it is definitely beatable, as you could have seen. 5-3 in the semifinal, also only a 4-2 in the grand final. So they lost some rounds. So it's interesting to see. But yeah, if we take a look into the next year, Scotty, what do you think? What will we see there? Is there anything you really want to emphasize here, or anything that you want to predict, or something like that? Maybe you have any ideas.
Here's a little thing to tie in both of our topics here. Of course, we'd hope that CPS is then going to partake in next year. What do you expect from next year's CPS in terms of these kind of teams? Do you expect that We Are Positive will once again be interested in playing? Do you expect that you'll see Four Wheels coming back again? Do you expect that any of these teams, might change anything up this going into next season? What do you think is laying in place for the next big Team Tech tournament?
So just passing the ball back, but I think squads like B Genius, THE, Numelops, No Limit, Proxys as well, I think they will definitely play, because those are well-established teams in the tech scene. And I think We Are Positive and Four Wheels. I mean, Four Wheels, you said it. It's kind of their own community. They're playing on like abandoned servers, hunting tech maps, and it's very exclusive. I mean, you can play with them, of course, but you won't enjoy it because you will always get last, because they're just hunting a map for hours and hours, which is fine. I always also did that on LoL maps. But I'm not sure if this team lost the motivation by losing the semifinal, because on paper they were the second best team, just by a hair, of course. But I hope that they will participate. But since they are not that experienced, I hope that the other players will participate in other solo competitions, because there we haven't seen any of those players. Maybe Darkbringer playing Track of the Days and Cup of the Days, maybe sometimes. But someone like Karyan, okay, Tech Track of the Days, we've seen him there, but like months ago. Other players maybe as well, but they are not that active in this game. So I hope that they will participate, but I think they are the less, or most likely to not participate in the next CPS. But I think that Spam and Co, so We Are Positive, that they will participate again, if it of course suits their time schedule. Maybe they could, someone like, let's say Carl Jr., he has to study or something, or Pack or whatever, get replaced by someone. We don't know. But I think the main squad will still participate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I suppose it's always a good opportunity for them, and I definitely agree with a lot of the points you're saying there. And yeah, I would love, the only thing I would really add to that is I'd love to see some of the players coming back that have kind of stepped away a little bit since the new games came in. Some of the old French demons coming back, or Lioncast, the Lioncast / runtime fun time lineup getting involved again. I'd definitely love to see that, but it's always waiting and seeing, I suppose. But getting into, as you originally asked me before, I kind of rebuffed your question, but as to what do I expect? Would I kind of look to this year? I think this year's a big question mark, and I mean a big question mark in a multitude of ways. First of all, it seems that there's a little bit of a light at the head of the tunnel in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, in the sense that we're now getting news of things like vaccines and so on. So, the light at the end of the tunnel seems to be there. Now, I'm not going to, put out any scientific nonsense or anything like that. I don't know when this is all going to be over. I'm just saying that at least, there's signs are it's not going to be too long, right? Yeah. So, what the question that's then twirling about in my head is then, what does that mean for offline event? What does that mean for things like the ZRT Cup, which is in the summer? Gamers Assembly, Gaming Winterfest, March, April. Any LAN events planned by Nadeo themselves. Although I don't know, perhaps Phoebe could correct me if I'm wrong, but there was some sort of initiative about going green within Nadeo, that they weren't as interested in hosting LAN events. I don't know if that is actually a thing. I just seem to remember that a few months ago being, a kind of initiative by Nadeo. Whether or not that involved, LAN events in any sort of capacity, I've absolutely no idea. But anyway, how that's going to affect any Nadeo planned events, because not to forget, we will, of course, have TMWC, the kind of the rounds format of Trackmania Grand League, going to be hosted, I believe, Q1 2021, and then there will be, of course, the next season of Trackmania Grand League, which isn't going to be that far behind. So, yeah, it's a big question about main events, specifically offline events. Of course, I think that's the kind of biggest question on the tongue for a lot of people at the moment, as this was really kicking in when things like Gaming Winterfest wasn't happening. Gamers Assembly got cancelled as a result of COVID-19. ZRT Cup get massively changed because of the coronavirus. But is this something that you really expect? Because of course we're not out of the pandemic. There's no one that's even been bold enough to put a date of when we're going to be out of the pandemic, even though there's all this news of the vaccine and so on. What do you kind of expect this year for the events side of things?
Yeah, it's a very hard question. I mean, let's start when we actually discovered all this Corona stuff, and with, you said, Gaming Winterfest and Gamers Assembly being delayed or held online, I think, something like that. So
I think the last event that was held offline was Leon Esports, which was either in February or March.
Yeah, and before that it was the Trackmania Grand League playoffs. So from season 1. Yeah,
that was the same weekend.
Yeah, it was the same weekend, of course. So at this point I was in London, so I couldn't follow it. But then it became serious, There was like an event I wanted to go, and it didn't take place. So I think mid of March, and then everything was on the lockdown. And from now on, it's like an up and down with lockdown and not lockdown. In Germany here, we have a lockdown again for 1 month already. And also it will be exceeding over the New Year barrier. So I think we have it till the 10th of January. So here the situation is pretty serious, I would say. But you can see that people behave differently. But I think they won't behave differently when it comes to event planning, because when you plan an event, let's say a festival or just an offline event, you take the risk of this one getting delayed, and also maybe not, you have to postpone it or something like that. And this is an immense cost that you have to cover with that. And I think in a game that is not that popular, to say like that, Trackmania is unfortunately a niche game. It is hard to take this risk as a company and also as an event organizer. So I think events will only take place very spontaneously on a smaller scale, or I think only in 2022 that we have also Zareta Cup. I mean, Zareta Cup is something else because it's organized by Zareta, and he has a massive fan base, and I think he can like digest a loss of money better than a company like Nadeo. That's just my opinion about it. But that's just like speculating over that. But I don't think that we will actually see offline events in the first half of 2021, unfortunately, because offline events are very good also to meet players, to meet people, to interact to the game, and also above that, just talking about, I don't know, what's your favorite beer or whatever, you get the drill, stuff like that. And I think this won't take place. What is your opinion about that, Scotty?
Yeah, well, I definitely agree with you, especially for the first half of 2021. I don't think we're going to see a Gaming Winterfest, Leon Esports, whatever it's going to be. I reckon all the tournaments are still going to be held online, because not only have we got to worry about, the fact that the pandemic might still be on, but even if it does, reach its kind of end phase within Q1 or Q2 of 2021, you're still going to have a lot of these kind of places that are, hesitant to throw their money back into an event when they don't know if it's actually going to be able to take place. I don't know if these companies take losses or whatever from doing this, or if it's all kind of sorted through it. I don't know how they would manage it, but yeah, I mean, this isn't a situation which anyone wants to be in. So I imagine that some of these organizations will be hesitant to be hosting offline events once again. So I think it's always it's a very interesting question, and one that, as always, I don't have the answer to. But I expect through the later stages of 2021, hopefully things will return to some form of normality. Hopefully, crowds will be back in stadiums and so on, and we might see some more Trackmania competitions, or some Trackmania competitions in general, being hosted offline, which I think would be fantastic, and something I'd always want to see. Having been to, I don't know, about 7 offline events, I think myself, 6 or 7, something like that. I can't even remember exactly. As I said, I'm two old guys. But yeah, I think it's something to look forward to for next year, but not to hold your breath for next year. It's not going to be coming straight in January, February, March, something like that. I could almost say that with a certainty, unless it's been held in the south of the US, as TK suggests. But I mean, it's still a little bit of a kind of awkward situation here at the moment, and even another part of it, which I've kind of heard, is a little bit of hesitancy playing into things. Not necessarily in terms of COVID, but I've also heard there may not be as much online events being happening in Trackmania over the turn of the year. I was looking into it a little bit to find out some kind of calendars and things like that. And it seems to be that things are going to be running a little bit slowly going into 2021. So I think everyone's just worn out from 2020. Everyone wants that 2 or 3 months to just check out and just, relax or something like that, it seems.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was checking Trackmania news. So, guys, quick tutorial: when you want to find competitions, join the Trackmania news Discord. I'm gonna put it in here because they can check out every event. There is a topic called events, and also main events. They have the events, and yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of events coming up. It's a little bit like everyone is a little bit exhausted. Of course, there are some events with some time attack. Then also this charity cup, I think between New Year and Christmas or something like that. But yeah, it seems that everyone is a little bit fed up from that and a little bit exhausted. And also a thing that I wanted to mention is the fact that it was actually a great opportunity for Trackmania of holding offline events for the new game. And it was a missed opportunity for the game. But I think this occurs for almost every game. But I mean, a new game comes out, the hype was there from the game. But I think what would have been better if there was the Zerator Cup, but if there were the Zerator Cup, but this just couldn't happen, unfortunately. And I don't know. It's I hope that some events will come, because some events also only get planned 2 or 3 weeks in advance. And I mean, there's Trackmania Grand League Winter, which is starting in a little bit more than a month. But other than that, maybe the Full Speed League, the Baltic League, What else? I don't know. Not much.
But yeah, I mean, I tried to ask into the TMEC, which has a lot of the kind of organizers from Trackmania tournaments in, and to get an idea of when we were going to be able to expect events and things like that, to try and get, a kind of an idea of a calendar, as I was saying, trying to get an idea of, what's going to be happening when. And it seems to be that there's quite a big gap from January to March of where, for example, there's not going to be any tech tournaments. There's not even any proposed tech tournaments, which I think, of a one sense, I think some people will need a little bit of a rest coming after this year. But I also think that it's a good opportunity for some organisers, which are maybe, struggling to find themselves a spot in the calendar to host their event. I think we can say that, while the game is still rough around the edges, that it can at least reasonably support, a kind of team or solo tournament. So this is a spot for people who are interested. Of course, there will be FSL, Full Speed League, through mid-January to mid-February. So by no means are the other environments or other parts of the game going to be slowing down. So there'll always be something to watch in Trackmania. And is exactly as you've said there, Baltic League and TMGL Winter 2021. But it seems to be that the density of events is the same if you're looking at it from a wider perspective for Trackmania. However, when you look into it, it's instead of it being tech events all the time and full speed and dirt events every now and then, it seems to be there's events all the times, but some of them are full speed, some of them are dirt, some of them are tech, some of them are multi-style. So it's all kind of conglomerating into a long stretch throughout the year of Trackmania, where it's a lot of different events, which I think is very healthy for the kind of ecosystem of the game. However, not as much for the individual communities at the very least. But there is still events to look forward to for sure. But one of the things which I think is going to be a very interesting question for this year, which I suppose it's not really, I'm not surprised no one's talked about it yet, since we're still quite a good distance away from it. But next year is going to be the first renewal, so to speak, that people will need to make for Trackmania, in a sense. Of course, coming into what would it be, June or July, or whenever the game actually came out.
1st of July.
1st of July. That will be the first time people are going to have to fork out the money for Trackmania, outside of when they initially done it. Now, I think that's going to be a very interesting few months, because that's when a lot of people are going to be thinking about, whether they think that the money they've spent's worth it, what they think they're going to be getting from the game, in the next few years. It's the same as the same boat that we were in April, May and June. People are thinking, what should I do about, this new game and so on. And I'm very interested to see what's going to happen. I'm predicting that we're going to see things getting sped up a little bit, update-wise, or, that kind of thing, so maybe some new content coming or whatever. But I think it's going to be a very interesting time coming up for Trackmania. And you know what? I don't know if we're going to... we're definitely going to see a few twit-long. Tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, shout-outs to Nadeo Marketing. You can take notes now. So what I would do, there's June, and then there's July, and then you announce the Raider Cup like 20th of June, but the maps come out 2nd of July. You do it like that, and then players will play, and they will pay. But I bought the 3-year access, so it will be interesting for me in 2.5 years. I mean, the game is out for more than 5 months already, and a lot of things have happened by just going chronologically for me. Through the game, it was for me like discovering the game to the Raider Cup, then my own competition and hunting, then there was Kaki, and then a shit ton of casts with Trackmania Grand League, of course, and then so many casts right now. I have 2 casts this weekend again, but now the game kind of, you named it kind of slows down. There are, of course, competitions like the French regionals, like Trackmania Grand League, but those are, as well as the Baltic League, but those are some, let's say, exclusive competition, as well as the Full Speed League competition that, I could participate in the Full Speed League, of course, but I would go out first round. But, it's very exclusive and not like a multi-style cup for everyone. But, we're gonna see how everything will turn out. Maybe I'm gonna organize a cup, or anyone else thinks, that's a good idea for me of organizing a cup, because nothing is happening there. We will figure that out. But to that, it will be a long time, Paul, till the 1st of July. And I hope that we will sit here as well talking about that particular topic at this part, because it will definitely be a little bit of a more direct shifting into a direction for the game. But what we have right now, it's actually pretty nice with Cup of the Day, all those incentives that you have. Also, like, okay, you don't have that much, but you have the reason to boot the game once a day if you want to play Cup of the Day.
Yeah, I think the Trackmania definitely has brought some things into it that are very interesting. Of course, the Cup of the Day format, taking the old True Talent Cup format and filling a void in a sense that really wasn't there in the game, which has been very good. But also, I do kind of check myself a little bit and remember that was something that was said would be part of the game at launch, essentially. So, I mean, I do kind of check myself a little bit there. But in another sense, I think that it's good progress that's being made. But I think a lot of people are going to be asking questions, as I said, in the next few months about whether or not this progress suits what they want from the game. I mean, I suppose it's a bit of a lesser question when you look at people who are spending, €10 or whatever it is for the standard edition to play events. That's not as much of an ask, but I'll be very interested to see how much club subscriptions we'll see being retained, as it feels like the club system, to me, has been a bit underwhelming, personally.
Yeah.
It has been, there is some functionality in it that's definitely interesting. However, it seems to be that it is still a little bit bare bones. I don't feel much of an incentive to build
Create a
up
club.
the club that I have, or to create a club in a sense, or I don't feel an incentive to use the club server, for example. I would, for me, it's always easier and better to use a custom server, for example. But yeah, and then of course you talk about the Open Grand League, which was the other main incentive for the club edition, which was met with a lot of issues in last season for the kind of people. I mean, outside of your more hardcore competitors, these are the kind of people that would be buying the club edition no matter what, because they want to be participating in Trackmania Grand League, of course. But outside of that, you have a lot of people who were having a lot of issues in Open Grand League, and I will await to see them being resolved in the next season of Open Grand League before they then commit their money to another year of the club edition. That's what I would see, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, those issues where you mean with the server crashes in the Bronze League and they just didn't care. Yeah, that's definitely a hard factor there.
I think didn't care is a bit of a harsh way to put it, but yeah, the servers crashing and a lot of people feeling like they were being left out of the Open Grand League steps.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't care to just put the focus on the top matches, but everyone should be equally treated in that way, despite it's a good player or a bad player, if you ask me. Of course, yeah, I don't know if they didn't care or not, but yeah, it's a mistake that could have been avoided, I would say. But yeah, let's just go to the next topic here. I think, yeah, I mean, good question by Helion. There's also the campaign coming up very soon, with the winter campaign coming out at the 1st of January. So just when New Year will kick in. I think the winter campaign will be pretty icy. And I don't know what to expect from that. Actually, I have no ideas. Maybe some more sort of remakes from tracks or reroutes, something we have seen in the fall campaign as well. But yeah, I mean, for me, there's also not a real incentive to play it for me, the campaign, other than just finish every track in like top 200. And then, yeah, there's the trophies, and yeah, I don't know. It's like whatever. I just don't mind about that much, actually, about the campaign. What do you think actually about the campaign? Like about the ranking, not about the tracks.
Well, I mean, me personally, I've never really cared that much about campaign personally. It's not really been something that's interested me as a player, as it's, these aren't tracks that would be in any sort of competition, and that's why I'm a competitive player, as simple as it gets. But let me just kind of remove myself from my own kind of role in the game, being a competitor and so on. I think that the campaign is one of the most important features in Trackmania. Of course, it's the one of the only things that the people on the most basic edition get to play. It's one of the few things that remains standard throughout all editions of the game, is the fact that there's a campaign. It follows relatively the same format. But what I would like to see with the campaign as Super Paralians put a little bit there. I would like to see them come in with something fresh for the campaign. I think Trackmania has really been spoiled by some of the content that's been coming out from the track of the day. I think they've really been spoiled by some of the beautiful creations that people have made. See the many categories and the different award shows for Map of the Year and so on. See the different track of the days throughout the past few months, and I think the creations that people have made have really kind of I didn't go into this game thinking that those sort of creations would be possible. Having seen people up, what people were making in Trackmania 2 compared to this Trackmania has been very has seemingly had quite a substantial difference. Now, the thing is, I don't like the idea of keeping the tracks familiar in a sense that they keep the same kind of theme, or that they have, a similar style to it or something like that. I think that with you only releasing tracks 25 at a time, you really can't afford to make so many that are so familiar in a sense. Now, not to say any of these were copycats. Some were more similar than others, of course, but these are tracks that people that hunt the campaign are going to be hunting for months. You don't want them to be hunting tracks that they feel like are the same track. You want to be giving them something fresh and new each 3 months. Keep them interested in the campaign for a longer time, so they're more likely to keep opening the game up. You're not going to be as interested in a map that feels like you've already been playing for the past 3 months. So I think, by nature of it being winter with a lot more ice coming into it, as long as they're careful with how they implement it, of course, it's going to open up a lot of eyes to maybe some of the more finer details of ice, some of the little nuances of ice that maybe people haven't learned yet or people haven't experienced yet, which I think could be very interesting. And I'm looking forward to see what they'll do in terms of if it'll introduce more people into ice in terms of a driving style instead of just a surface, which a lot of people look at it as. A lot of people look at it as almost an obstacle or an object rather than an actual style, which I believe it's morphing more into now. So I think, the new campaign is going to be interesting. I mean, personally, whether or not I'll play it as much, I'm not entirely sure. But are you looking forward to the new campaign at all, or is it just again the same kind of 25 offer medals and then you'll be done?
Well, I mean, that's what I did for the last 2 campaigns, and I've also hunted the campaign a little more. But for me, as a, let's say, semi-professional, casual player, like the middle between that, I'm not good, like pro, but I'm not bad as well myself. So I had like no incentive to hunt those tracks for hours and hours, because I want to learn tracks and drive them for consistency and not for the fastest time, because I know that I can only hardly compete with people on the top tracks, maybe on 1 or 2 tracks of the campaign. But I got top 30 on some maps, and that's it. So I'm looking forward to that. Maybe there's a map that really grabs my interests, but that wasn't the case for the fall campaign. But also a good point that you mentioned there, because every time we've seen a track also in the official campaign, and also on competitions that just say Elite Cup, for example, we had the part where you had to jump into an ice tube, and it was an obstacle that you had to clear. So ice is getting used to be an obstacle that you have to clear. And we didn't see a full. We have seen track 25 being the start full ice, maybe from the summer campaign, you remember. But ice right now is not a full established style. So I hope that we see one full ice track that people will be triggered about, and just to see how this works, how people will interact with this track, and how it will be picked up. I think that's a good idea. Of course, people will complain about that, and ice is definitely a very hard tarmac or a very hard underground to get good on. But it will be interesting to see that, and also how people can learn that, because I think not a lot of those players are actually good on ice, including me.
Yeah, including me as well. But I mean, with kind of what Parhealy was kind of asking a little bit about, changes we might expect from the game, if I'll just kind of generalise them with them mentioning about the campaign and also mentioning about the blocks and things like that. We've seen people really bringing a lot of functionality in a sense of different blocks that they're making, through Mesh Modeler or through, importing different kind of blocks or however it is they do it. I've absolutely no idea. But anyway, we've seen a lot of creations coming into the game. I mean, I was talking to some mappers who were just downloading everything from Mania Exchange and making some very interesting maps out of it. Some very popular creators, like I think HTMH, will not share their creations, whereas some of them will, and other people will be able to use those in maps that they then want to make. But what I was kind of wanting to get at there is Parhelian's, saying about, will they add blocks to the vanilla editor and so on, and it feels that the editor is kind of disappointing him a little bit, and it seems like the community is bringing the most kind of awesome part to the editor for him. But do you imagine any developments from the game side of things going into the creative aspect of this game? I mean, of course, they have provided us the simple and advanced editor. They've provided us the functionality to be able to do what some of these people are doing. Do you imagine that that the focus is going to be in that direction to open up any more customization in that, or do you not expect to see any changes in that?
So you mean the change that they will implement blocks to the vanilla version of the game, or?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I think that they will take community-made blocks to that, but also like implement that it's easier to download a block, that you have like in that will be my idea, like in Osu, for example, that when you were a supporter there, you could just download the map by just clicking and not going on the site and implement it. That you have a feature like that you can, I can search for a block, like for the name, and I can download it, and then I have it in the game, like in Osu. That's a feature in Osu. I'm not sure how it works to implement the block, but I think you have to download, search out the file, and then put it in. So it's a little bit of work, and it's tedious if you want to implement 10 blocks, let's say like that. Maybe you can do a mass implement. I have no idea how this works, but I think that they will implement the blocks that, let's say, just the dirt blocks by effect, that they will do that right now. So that they will take those kind of blocks, like overwork them, that everything will fit, and that they implement them to the game. That's what I think. But I think we will definitely see other blocks in the game. Maybe not coming this change, but they can surprise me. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I personally don't have that much more to say about next year, at least as of the moment, so to speak. But I mean, I think 2021 is. I'm not really feeling in any kind of side of it like it's going to specifically be something to look forward to, or it's it's going to be crap or anything like that. I don't necessarily feel very strongly about 2021's prospects for Trackmania. I think it's going to be very interesting in terms of the competitive side of things for things like Open Grand League. Are we going to see the fixes that people were demanding so that they would be able to play the various steps in Open Grand League? Are we going to see any changes to the playoff formats for TMGL, in which everyone was complaining about? How's TMWC going to fit into all of this and so on? I think it's going to be very interesting in terms of that, but this is also something that can be interesting in a sense that it could go good or it could go bad. It's something that in some cases I'm anxious about, in a sense. If Trackmania Grand League does not go down the direction of which we want it to, and the players start getting more disenfranchised with it, we saw what the result of that was last season, when some players kind of lost interest a little bit, almost. So I think it's going to be a very interesting year competitively in 2021. But yeah, I think it's going to take us getting into the year, getting a few months under the belt before we can really say how 2021 is going to go, I would say.
I think so as well. Also, maybe the development of new competitions, or also, let's say, maybe the 5th installment of the Elite Cup 5. Maybe they will expand. Maybe the sponsor has seen, oh, it was good, we're going to do it again. Or also Solary Cup or Game World Cup. Maybe we're going to see something like that. But I think Game World said that it's their last edition. I'm not sure about that. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But I mean, hopefully we still going to see those competitions that were held this year for the first time still continue in 2021, and also other competitions. And yeah, Holdouts TM tournament. I mean, you could have joined a little bit earlier, Eric, because there we talked about the pandemic and about offline events, and that we are not that sure if offline events will take place next year or not. But I hope that it will happen. Or something like that. Yeah, watch me. Yeah, because no one in Norway is there anyway to come there, so no one can get corona, right? But hey, if you make it happen, I will definitely come, and I will pack my suitcase, and I will put TM Scotsman in my bag, in my case, or my whatever. So he comes with me and flies there, and we're gonna drink some Cuba Libre. Hello.
I'll be your hand luggage.
Yeah, my hand luggage, true. My hand luggage.
But yeah, I mean, talking about next week, I suppose, what we can have planned next week for you guys, how exactly it's going to work, we're not entirely sure yet. We don't really plan a lot of this ahead of time, we'll have you know. But what we're planning next week is we're planning to not necessarily have our own award show. We'll talk a little bit about the award shows, you know, Eric Holdall's award show, the TM News award show, and I think we'll give a little bit of our input on who we think will be nominees or who we think deserves each of the awards and things like that. And yeah, who knows? We'll see how it goes. And you know, maybe Mr. Holdall's interested in a comeback episode here. We'll
cool,
see.
Yeah.
But yeah, next week we plan on doing a little bit of a talk about the awards, a talk about, you know, how people have really kind of been, how people and different organisations or so on have made 2020 their own, so to speak. So we do have that to look forward to next week, guys, and we'll keep you updated as to how Let's Talk Trackmania is going to proceed over the Christmas and holiday break, but we'll figure that out ourselves first of all. We'll figure that out ourselves, first of all, and we'll get back to you on that, not to worry. But we will be here next week, same time and same place, not to worry. I'll be sat to the left or right of this beautiful man, LuckersTurbo, and I will be joined once again on the backside of things by Mr. Erwin Weber, bringing this episode to us as expertly as always. But I don't really have anything else from me. I would only remind everyone else once again to check out esac.gg for upcoming events, and those who are interested in hosting as well, and any who are interested in submitting competitive maps to any upcoming tournaments, stop and submit them to the competitive open map pool. I'm going to find you and I'm going to hunt you down. And also, if you're interested in testing maps, if you're interested in ensuring the quality of upcoming tech tournaments are as good as they can be, then hit me up in the D to the M's. Anything else for you, Mr. Turbo?
Yeah, I mean, one thing, maybe you guys can think a little bit about that. Yeah, like a homework. Yeah, future teacher speaking here. Like the parameters that you would take, let's say, for match of the year, for like community person of the year, for caster of the year, for like you name it, for all the competitions. Because sometimes it's hard to say. Let's say you have casual player of the year and you have pro player of the year. Where do you distinguish between a casual player and a pro player? Who's casual for you? Who's pro for you? So it's an interesting format and an interesting thing. And of course, everyone has their own opinion, but I'm really looking forward to how you guys think about that, what your parameter is to that. What do you think? Let's say, I don't know, Pack, of course, is a pro player, but is only a pro player who's in the Trackmania Grand League? And full-time, can someone like Evon beforehand in season 1, could he made it full-time? So those are some questions. So yeah, this is what I wanted to add. And yeah, so that's everything from my side. I would say we're gonna see ourselves at 8 p.m. CET next week at Tuesday. As always, thanks all for watching and goodbye.